All right, welcome back to the New Equity Network Show. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. And we are broadcasting to you live on 1160 AM KVCE, DFW's Business Authority. All right, my first guest is Philip Racusin, CEO, co-founder, EnergyFunders LLC. And Phil, welcome back to the show. How have you been?
Been doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Great. I'm glad to have you here. Phil, you have been on the show a few times, but there's always new listeners. Give our audience an overview of what EnergyFunders does, and then I want to kind of get into how you maximize the return on oil and gas investors for not only the investor, but also for the operator.
Sure. So what we do is we connect a little guy to the little guy being the successful operator who needs access to additional capital. There's a failure in capital markets, so they want to make their case directly to the investor. And then on the other side, we have the investors who want to invest directly in oil and gas. If they've been tracking the market, they know that investing in an oil and gas stock is not a good reflection of what's actually going on. They're not going to get maximum return. And getting into the well directly is the best way to achieve those huge 300 to 500% ROI over a handful of years. So we stand in the middle, connect them together, take responsibility for the projects, vet the daylights out of them, and give investors access to deals that they wouldn't otherwise get to see.
Right. You do that through a crowdfunding process, right?
That's correct. We have a patent-pending crowdfunding platform. It's at EnergyFunders.com, and it does all the work for the operators, for the investors, so that it's a very easy, streamlined process for each of them.
All right, now let's drill down. Thank you for that explanation on your company, but let's drill down into how is it that you're different and you maximize the return on oil and gas investing? You've got to be doing something a little different than the normal people out there.
So with a typical direct investment program, an investor is going to be asked to put in probably a minimum of around $50,000 up to maybe $100,000 just to get into the project. With us, with EnergyFunders.com, you put in as little as $5,000, and you can spread. Let's say the investor had $25,000, $50,000 to spread across a variety of projects, $100,000, whatever the case may be. They can place those into as many projects as they want, rather than concentrating them into one project. And as some oil and gas investors may know, wells can be kind of binary. They can either hit or they don't. With a success rate that could be anywhere from 60 to 80%, depending on where you are. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. By spreading them out, then you ensure that you're maximizing the returns on your personal oil and gas investment portfolio.
All right. You also offer educational resources for people looking to broaden their knowledge base in this industry sector. Let's open that up.
Sure. So we've spent a lot of time, in really 2 years, putting together educational materials that we host on our blog. It's easy to sign up. Anyone who wants to sign up will go to EnergyFunders.com and click on the blog, and then you can get an update once in a while when we have a new post. There's no spam or anything like that. But what they're going to get is educational resources that help educate them on how to avoid pitfalls in oil and gas investing, based on the experience of our experts, based on all the deals that we've seen and why we reject them. Many investors out there would not know some of the red flags that they should see, that they should look for, and that's just unfortunate. We do that work of vetting these projects and creating unprecedented transparency so that investors can be comfortable with the project itself.
What are some of the red flags that are right up there at the top that people should be aware of so that they can steer clear of losing their money or reduce that risk of losing their money if they've decided to go into the oil and gas industry?
Sure. So there can be quite a few, and we look for all of them, of course. but one of them, for instance, would be a blind pool with no selected drilling sites. So someone is essentially saying, all right, well, I'm going to take all this money and I'm going to drill in these areas, but they don't have any wells picked out. They don't have any drill site locations, and it's kind of vague where they're going to do their operations. Another one might be where you see a huge promote fee. Maybe the capital raise is, say, $1 million, and the promote fee is 1/3 of that. Well, as an investor, only 2/3 of your dollar is actually going to go into the project. Also, a promote fee that large means that the person who's actually trying to get you on board to the deal does not have their interests aligned with yours. They're going to get paid no matter what happens. That's not the case with us. We only win when the investor wins.
And how is that? How is it?
So we take a 10% carried interest in the project, and what that means is that let's say a project's funded and it starts to produce oil and produce revenue. Then Energy Funders takes just a 10% cut of that, with 90% going to the investors. The project has to be successful, or we don't make any money off of it. And the investors have responded very favorably to that value proposition.
You deal with a lot of operators. You're hands-on with them one-to-one. What are some of the lessons that the listening public should know about a good operator versus a bad operator, somebody with experience versus somebody that could go awry? You've got to have a defining line there.
Absolutely. When we do, we look for production history that has been going on for a number of years. So those in the oil and gas industry would know this, that the state regulatory authority in each state, it could be an agricultural department. In Texas, it's the Railroad Commission. They maintain very detailed records on each registered operator, that each oil and gas operator has a license granted by the state to operate and maintain and manage wells. And so we look at those records and make sure that the operator has operated a number of wells, and that those wells have been successful, and that they don't have any black marks and things like that. Those are some of the best ways to weed out a lot of operators out there.
Okay, so you're walking through the track records of the deals that come to you. Then are you doing, from my understanding, you actually get in the office with them, you're looking them in the eye, and then you go through their background, their history, to vet these operators to make sure that they're reputable people that come to your website. Is that right?
Yeah, so we make sure that we meet each and every operator that we work with. For instance, we just had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago with someone we're going to be working with very soon, and we're excited to bring that project to the table. We don't just rely on phone calls and reams of information. We also like to look them in the eye. I think that's the best way to get to know somebody.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we've got about 2 minutes left in the segment. The size of the projects that generally show up on your crowdfunding portal, what are they?
So, there's a sweet spot between about 200,000 and $1 million right now. In the future, we anticipate doing some larger projects too. Now those could be the entire amount of capital necessary, and some people might find that surprising. But it's when you start to understand how shallow onshore well drilling and reworking works, it's really not that expensive, especially for the value that you can get out of the project. But that could be the entire capital raise, or it could be a piece of a larger project, such as 1/3 or maybe half of it.
Okay. All right. Guest this segment is Philip Racusin, CEO, co-founder, EnergyFunders.com. All right, Philip, when we left off, we were going to get started on the heavy deal flow that comes through your crowdfunding portal. I wanted to drill down in that. There's got to be a reason you've got a heavy deal flow, and maybe you could describe the types of deals that are coming to you and why you have such a heavy deal flow.
Sure. So we've spent over 2 years building this proprietary deal flow by using all of the best practices on the internet, building, large organic following, word of mouth, media mentions, paid and earned content, especially earned, and we use social media. We have, in all the internet channels, and so we are essentially, and of course, good old-fashioned, networking through our network, and with all of that outreach, as well as all the sign-ups from good oil and gas operators, we have a deal flow of about 10 deals coming in a week. And of course, we see that increasing in the future. And that's something that we've spent a lot of time and effort building. Now we filter each of the deals through our proprietary process, and so we're able to cherry pick basically one out of every 10 deals to move on and continue evaluating, so that we're bringing only the best deals to the table.
So it gives you the ability to really cherry pick this so that the back end, which is where you get your revenue stream, is as close to assured as you can possibly make it, right?
Yeah, that's a good description. We're not in the business of putting up, just throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. That wouldn't make us any money. We are very concerned with we're investor first, and we have to be, because that's how our business model works. We run each one through a process that involves an initial intake where we get all the necessary information, but not an excessive amount. So it's not difficult for the operator to give us the information we need in the beginning. It's actually quite easy. From there, we can do an initial evaluation, and then we continue with a dialogue with the operator, and we go through the economic analysis, land title, to make sure that the lease actually has a claim to the mineral rights and the title chain is good. And we also evaluate the engineering feasibility of the project, which includes review of all kinds of logs, reserve reports, any other information, maps, and essentially everything else that would be seismic, anything else that is going to be relevant to evaluating the actual potential from a geological or engineering standpoint.
Now you
and then
go ahead.
From that point, we would just proceed, and we could get the deal closed and start funding it.
You have projections that you like to target. Give us an example of what low, medium, and high would be on this.
Yeah, so we sort of back into each project with understanding of what investors want, and we've gotten to know them so well now that we know what the community wants. They want usually a payback of around 24 months, 20 to 24 months. They'll be patient, but they'd like to get the money they put into the project back in 2 years, and then make a nice return on top of that. The low case scenario is probably going to be about 36 months. Medium case is going to be around 24 months. High case is going to be 18 or less, sometimes up to 10 months. So with some of the projects that we're evaluating now, and some of the strategies that we've developed with the operator, it's possible that the payback could happen in around 10 months. It's obviously a projection, and there are no guarantees, but it's an actual possibility.
What are the geographical regions you're working with right now for these oil projects?
So we are pretty much, speaking with operators in the top 10 oil-producing states. So Texas, Oklahoma, California, Kansas, and a variety of other states. We pretty much have evaluated deals from all around the United States. If there's Kentucky, if there's Illinois, if the state is notable at all for producing oil, then we have received and evaluated some projects from that state.
Okay. So you're diverse all around. Like you said, the top 10, and I'm curious. This team that you have, do people come to you and just give you a project and say, here's the project, here's our terms, or are you negotiating with the operator to form fit this so that it actually works the way you want it to work for your platform? I wanted to drill down on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. And as you might expect, we get in deals that pretty much we have everything from the description could be just the basics to there's an entire package put together. I mean, it runs the entire continuum of that, and we have to deal with it no matter what kind of state the project comes in at. Sometimes the project is. Most of the time, I'd say, it doesn't fit quite perfectly, but it fits well enough that we can start negotiating with the operator. And then when the time we're finished negotiating, the operator's definitely getting a fair deal, the investor's getting a great deal, and we have made it fit with what our community of investors wants. And that is because there really usually there's no hard and fast terms that have to be met. At least when you're not dealing with middlemen who who want to charge a lot of money in the middle to promote, and that's okay if some of them want to do that, but that's fine. We just don't do that. That's not our model. We go direct to the source. When you're not dealing with them, then you have a lot. We have a lot of flexibility to negotiate the deal and make it work. Make the terms so good that the fact that Energy Funders takes 10% is basically invisible to the investor.
All right, let's talk about the other side, because we've been really focused on the interview so far about the investor side, and that's a good place to be, and because that's where commerce is really created by investing in projects and then moving forward. But what about the other side, the operator side? What kind of feedback are you getting from them about working with you and structuring and the speed that which your crowdfunding portal, EnergyFunders.com, actually gets these projects up and running and moving down the road?
So the feedback I'm getting is that they're very happy with the speed. Compared to family offices, private equity, VC, banks, which take months and months, we can get things done a lot quicker. We can start the ball rolling, and 6 weeks later we can be capital raising. And with the success of a recent project, that could happen in one day, depending on the size of the project. Compare that to over 6 months or 8 months, speaking with, say, a family office that, just unfortunately just doesn't really want to make a decision one way or another. We won't waste any operator's time. We'll be straightforward with them. If something doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, and we could still do business in the future. So that's feedback we're getting. We're also they also like the fact that we're working with them as partners, and we're not in this to try to extract a lot of value in an unfair way. We're really in this to increase the pie, increase the value overall for everybody, so everybody wins.
All right, we've got about a minute left. Going forward, what do you see happening with EnergyFunders.com? Where do you see it going?
Well, I see us doing more projects, larger projects. Our projections are such that we're about to probably double the number of projects that we put up per month, and we're just going to be offering better and better deals to the investors out there, and really more and more flexible terms and larger capital raises to the operators.
All right, great. It's really good information you brought to the show today. Thanks for being here, Philip, and really thank you for bringing more transparency to an industry that's really hard to get into and hard to weave your way through to find a good deal. I really appreciate what you've done.
Well, you're very welcome. That's why we formed the company, and we're happy to be doing that today.
Great. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Phil Racusin, CEO, co-founder, Energy Funders, LLC, EnergyFunders.com. Stick around. We'll be right back on the other side of this break with Chris Walker, GM, Helispectra, publicly traded company, HLSPY. You've been listening to Michael Yorba on New Equity Network, broadcasting to you live on 1160 AM KVCE, DFW's Business Authority.